Why is everybody playing this game all of a sudden? This game just came out of nowhere. When it comes to Japanese games, there are way too many popular franchises to count. Over the last few years in particular, there have been a ton of great Japanese games taking up everyone's attention. So, when you think about the most popular games in your arbitrary ranking in your head, which is the first game that comes to mind? It could be Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or Elden Ring, Monster Hunter, Pikmin 4, Armored Core 6. Well, you would think that, but actually, it's this game. That's right, this is the game that a ton of people in Japan are obsessed with. This is called Suika Game, which translates to simply watermelon game. If you're a fan of the VTuber scene, then you might have noticed that your entire YouTube feed has been infested with thumbnails that look like this. Practically every single Japanese streamer ever has done a stream playing this game for hours on end, multiple times. But why? It seems like this game just appeared out of nowhere. What is this game all about? When I first started seeing this game make the rounds, I was assuming that there would be more under the surface. After my experience with games like Doki Doki Literature Club, Undertale, Frog Fractions, those kinds of games, I just assumed that there would be something darker or at least something more unexpected underneath the surface. And yeah, I know it's kind of weird for me to think that, but believe me, after playing Doki Doki Literature Club, I do not trust any cute-looking game anymore. But ironically, the most surprising thing about this game is that none of that happens. There's nothing dark or weird about it. It's just a normal, wholesome puzzle game about fruit. So, how does this game work? And what's in here that makes it so popular that it's currently ranking #1 on the Nintendo eShop, higher than Zelda, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, Vampire Survivors, everything? People are doing 6-hour streams playing that exclusively, and we're even seeing people starting to compete against each other now. So there must be something special here, right? Well, fortunately, I actually have a Japanese Nintendo account that I can use to access the Japanese store. So I went ahead and I bought the game myself so that I could give it a shot with my own eyes and my own hands. I have the game loaded up on my Switch and I am ready to find some answers. Wish me luck. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's talk about it. Number 1, it's super cheap. This game's only 200 yen in the Japanese eShop, which is the equivalent of only a couple of bucks in American dollars. With a price tag like that, it's very difficult to say no to a game like this, even if you don't know anything about it, because even if you don't enjoy it, then you don't feel like you're losing anything anyway. Number 2, it's very simple to understand. Suika Game is a fairly unique puzzle game, because it's not like other titles like say Tetris or Lumines where you have blocks of the same size that neatly fit into place. In this game, it does a ton of things differently. For starters, you play with fruit, all of them of differing sizes. Not only that, but you can actually combine 2 of the same fruit together to make a bigger fruit. The objective of the game is to keep making bigger and bigger fruit until you reach the biggest one, which is the watermelon. And of course, the more you do this, the more points start racking up. There's no real goal, objective, or story that the game lays out for you. As a player, you just do your best and see how far you can get. If you go on YouTube, you might find that most of the people that play this game have pretty much universally agreed that 3,000 points is the goal. I think this comes from most players having a final score that just barely reaches 3,000, but not quite. So everybody has made it their goal to at least get to that 3K. In terms of game modes, there's only one. You have the puzzle game itself, and then the leaderboards, and then a very short slideshow that explains how to play the game, and that's it. Suika Game doesn't overcomplicate itself with a bunch of extra modes or online play or anything like that. It is as simple as it gets, which means anyone from the most casual player to even seasoned experts can get into this with no problems. Number 3, physics. As I mentioned before, there are puzzle games like Tetris that only have blocks that have to fit perfectly, that only go straight down and that's it. Suika Game is totally different. Aside from the fact that you have to work with different sized fruit, you also need to play with physics in mind. When you drop the fruit down, it won't just stay in place because it's all round fruit. You'll find them rolling around as soon as they land. If you play your cards right and learn to think ahead, then you can actually use this to your advantage. Or sometimes, those same physics will be the thing that screws you over horribly.
あ、お前落ちるんだよ。あそこそんなね、使える感じなんだ。全然構わ。ねえ、今日ひどい。見た？ねえ、見た？今日。
It's really fun to play with this in mind, because there are many situations where two big fruits are super close to fusing together, but they don't quite touch. So you have to play around with what you have to get the results that you want. Maybe have a smaller fruit try and push the bigger fruit to the side or something. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. If you give it a second and you wait, the gravity itself will drop a fruit to where you want it. And when you're finally able to chain a bunch of fruit together, the sound it makes is so satisfying too. And speaking of satisfying, number 4, chill vibes. Another reason why I think this game has become so popular is because of how friendly and welcoming it feels. From personal experiences, I can tell you of many situations where people talk about a great video game, but perhaps there are parts of it that might scare you away. Maybe it's a horror game, or maybe the game is too violent, or you're just not that into cowboys or space stuff, so you end up not playing games with that kind of setting. But here, the setting is pretty timeless. It's just really adorable, kawaii looking fruit that you have to fit into a jar without overflowing. There's no story, there's no time limit, there's no sense of urgency or pressure. You only have to worry about not reaching the top and getting the high score, and that's it. Very simple, very approachable, and you can do it at your own pace. And of course, who could forget the music? That one singular track that this game has. For any fan of this game, I'm sure you have the song burned into your mind by now. It's probably playing in your head on loop as we speak. It certainly is looping on my head right now. The entire game as a whole exudes this very innocent and warm feeling that anyone can feel comfortable with. From children to adults and even your grandma, they can all play this game just fine. Number 5, no Japanese required. Kaigai Nikki welcome. When people think about playing Japanese games, there's always that fear of the language barrier. But luckily for us, there's a ton of Japanese games out there that exist that are so simple to understand with barely any text involved. But luckily for us, there's a ton of Japanese games that exist out there that are so simple to understand with barely any text involved that it's actually possible for you to play them without knowing any Japanese. And there's even some Japanese games out there that already have some English text on it, even if they're not officially translated into English yet. Suika game definitely fits that description, so you don't have to worry at all about whether you understand the game or not. I'm pretty sure everyone can understand the concept of fruit and combining two of them to make them bigger to get points. And even if you forget, there's a very useful graphic on the side of the screen that shows the progression of all the fruits, again with no text at all, so anyone can get it. And now my conclusion. If there's anything that we can learn from this innocent little watermelon game and its success story, it's this. We don't always need multi-million-dollar budgets to make a good game. We don't need season passes or battle passes or excessive DLC or large, huge-scale cinematic experiences. Sometimes we don't need to bloat a game with too many features or always online connectivity. Sometimes all you need is just a good idea with simple and approachable design at an affordable price. And of course, an entire army of VTubers that expose their millions of followers to your game for free wouldn't hurt too bad either. But in any case, Suika game, or Watermelon game, is being played by everyone for a good reason. And that's because it's just a good game. It's good, it's fun, and it's addicting. It definitely has that just one more round feeling down perfectly, because you always feel like you can do better. And honestly, I've been playing it for quite a while now, and I have yet to feel bored or tired of it. I just want to go back and keep playing more of it. So yeah, I definitely recommend this game, especially for its price tag. If you don't have a Japanese Nintendo eShop account yet, then I highly recommend that you do, because aside from Suika Game, you are seriously missing out on a bunch of really great titles that never see the light of day over in the West, unfortunately. And Suika Game will most likely be one of those titles, so give it a shot. You won't be disappointed.